Beautiful. Thank you, Annie. There we go. Zoom lady has told us. And so welcome to The Insider. Now, I have spent over a decade working in tech, and sometimes being immersed in it, I forget all the intricacies of the tech world, especially what it's like for newcomers. So from nerve-wracking interviews to sometimes obscure coding tests, as we navigate this kind of landscape of a tech career, it can feel like uncharted territory for many. And that's really why The Insider was born. The Insider is an event that's here to shed light on the path ahead. It really is a series that dives deep into some of the inner workings of Australia's largest and sometimes very impressive tech teams, revealing secrets behind their success. And today, we have the real honour of being joined by an incredible Department of Customer Service and some other esteemed areas of the New South Wales government. Now, joining us on this panel, very exciting part, introducing our amazing panel who are going to help us demystify all things tech and tech career. I want to introduce them one by one, and I'll bring them up to our virtual stage. So first up, we have Rachel Chen. Rachel's fascinating. She's coming from an HR professional background, and she's turned into a tech enthusiast. She's now a developer at Revenue New South Wales. So we'll be finding out all about that untraditional pathway that she's taken. Next up, joining me and Rachel will be LAKSHMI HARSHVARDHAN, a software developer at Service New South Wales, and she's got 2 years of experience. She's also taken that successful transition from a non-tech career into software development. So we'll definitely be chatting more to her about that. Introducing next, we've got NEHA BAJAJ, and she's a talent acquisition advisor with over 12 years of experience in really diverse sectors. NEHA specializes in attracting and retaining really diverse pool of candidates, whilst always ensuring a really exceptional stakeholder experience. So it's really great to have someone from the talent acquisition team join us. Thanks, NEHA. It's such a good panel already, isn't it? I've got so many questions already. Next up, we have NIMMY. NIMMY LEKSHMI is a principal developer. She's at Revenue New South Wales, and her expertise is in integration, cutting edge technologies, and she also has a passion for yoga and meditation, which I love. And last but certainly not least, we've got ARSHDEEP GILL, an engineering manager at Service New South Wales, and she's been driving strategic initiatives, and she's really passionate about technology's impact on community. So am I, ARSHDEEP. So it is such a pleasure. I'm delighted to have you all with me. Without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and get my questions up. So welcome to the stage, everybody. Here's my questions here. Beautiful. And again, just a little reminder, use the chat window if anything comes up. If you've got any burning questions about your own career or what it's like to work for the government. Rachel, I'm going to start with you, not because you were the first in the order, but just because that's just how it's going.
No worries. Hi, lovely to be here.
It's so good to have you. You weren't doing tech before. It sounds like you came from an HR background. How did it all begin for you? I'd love to hear that journey.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So my background is in HR. I actually studied HR and psychology, and I worked in HR professional roles for just over 7 years. I think my transition to tech was actually fairly natural in that I worked in mostly startup and kind of growth organizations. So part of my role was in HR operations, where I was asked to define and streamline HR processes over and over again. And I felt like using tech to automate some of those processes was when I was finding myself happiest in my career. So last year, I just decided that I wanted to do more of that on more of a day-to-day basis. So I bit the bullet. I did a bootcamp with Knowledgy, which is an organization that's similar to Code Like a Girl. So it was a 3-month full-time bootcamp, and then they actually assist you by placing you into a contract role afterwards. So that was late last year, and now I currently work as a developer at Revenue. Working on updating the existing system and code base for anything related to business taxes. And it's been 4 months now, and I'm still feeling fairly new, but I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, I love that, Rachel. And is tech for you? You made the right choice?
I think so.
Love it.
I think it took a lot for me to make that jump because I felt like I was fairly into my HR career already. But because I was kind of following my gut with like what aspects of my job I really liked, I was kind of quite sure that tech would be for me from the get-go. And I just think that the scope of tech is so exciting. Tech touches literally everything now. So you're able to work on so many different projects. The problem's always changing, and you can work in so many industries as well. So
Oh,
I'm
so
here for a while, I think.
and what a brave leap. Good on you. Lakshmi, you've got a kind of similar, like unconventional route into tech. Did you also do a boot camp?
Yeah, can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah.
So yes, to start with, I have a computer science background. Back in India, I did study computer science, but I've never get a chance to work in that environment because of some personal reasons. And when I moved here, I just wanted to get a job, so I just started with admin sort of job and call centers, receptionists, customer service. But I'm sort of a person who'll always I'll get bored very easily with monotonous kind of work. So I keep, looking for new jobs. And so that's when I was with Service New South Wales, and I was like, okay, I wanted to look into something else. And I was in my maternity leave, and I saw bootcamp opportunity, and I thought that's the best for me because I always wanted to get into tech. Yeah, I grabbed that opportunity. So currently I'm working with the customer care team, where our main focus is to provide services to the citizen of New South Wales through our apps. And yeah, so I'm also a developer. I work on both front end and back end.
That's incredible. Oh, I love hearing both those stories, right? So my takeaways, if anyone's in the audience, is that if you're feeling really bored if you get bored of the mundane, like development tech is a really good place to go. If you find yourself constantly enjoying the problem solving, if you're trying to find shortcuts and automate and create like processes and automate them, maybe tech would be a good transition for you. So I appreciate those insights, ladies. Thank you so much. Arshdeep, I've got a question for you next. So you're head of engineering. So obviously you've progressed in your career quite well. Could you tell us a little bit about that career progression, how you got to where you are today? Like, what does that, if you had to sort of summarize it in a really short, succinct answer, if that's easy to do?
Yeah, sure. No, all good. I would say that, in my career, first of all, I want to acknowledge that I never thought that I would be in such a position and that this opportunity came along. But I definitely came from the engineering background and was working mostly as a principal engineer in Service New South Wales. I worked on so many applications related to COVID during the COVID time, like the check-in app is the check-in application is the most popular one that I believe everyone here knows about. So I was really glad with the opportunity that Service New South Wales had provided me during that time. And then with time, you grow within an organization, and I found myself another opportunity as an engineering manager in the organization. And I thought, look, I've been doing software engineering for over 15 years, and let me just try something new, which is not just tech but also around people management and leadership role. And hence I got this opportunity. I asked for that, and while learning so many things around strategy, leadership, and all of those things, this opportunity again came my way, where our head of engineering has to do another acting role, and then I got this opportunity to act in that role. I should say that I'm very privileged to be in this role at the moment, because it kind of helped me have a look at the top look and help our leadership and our engineers as well, so that I get this chance to kind of improve the things that I always wanted to work on or improve from being an engineer myself. I definitely, I think I will, it's a big shout out to all the leadership team that I worked with, which saw that potential and kind of gave me this opportunity. And it's always like at some point you always self-doubt on, oh, is it too soon, or is it, always self-doubt. But really, I think everyone should really believe in yourself, take the opportunity that comes your way, try to do the best a day at a time, and definitely you'll get there, is what my take is from my current experience from the past 3 months in this acting role.
Oh, that is gold. That is such good advice, Arshdeep. And yeah, I think like it's so important that we get these opportunities based on our potential, that we have, those people that are, sponsoring us internally, that are saying like, here's an acting position.
Yeah.
Let's try it out and see if it's for you. And it just sounds like you're loving it. It sounds great. And how fun is it to work on products that people actually know? Like sometimes I think as a software engineer, I would talk about what I do and people are just like, yeah, okay, Ali. But when you actually get to see like, I worked on that app, or I worked with, like, I mean, everybody used that app. That's amazing.
That's right. And it's great to see the direct impact on people around us. So that's the proud factor that actually comes with the job that we're doing at DCS, I believe, that I have never felt that satisfaction in my previous corporate roles that I have done and been part of. And the way that it is actually supporting, everyone in the team as a community as well. So I really appreciate and, want to say thank you to those opportunities.
Oh, I love that. And Nimmy, what attracted you to a career in the tech industry? Like what is it about tech and working in tech that makes you feel like it's really right for you?
Yeah, so I did my graduation in computer science and engineering as well. And then, soon after my graduation, I think I was lucky enough to be offered, from two multinational companies, actually, Toshiba and Nokia. And then at that time, the world was actually, the telecom industry was booming. And that's when I decided to go with Nokia and try my hands in the 3G telecom industry. From there on, it was totally my journey completely in the tech industry in multiple domains. Networking domain with Cisco. I've been to the banking domain with Citibank, and then yeah, I think that's when I realized something different, trying a new technology altogether. And at that time, it was also, the world was also moving into a connectivity based model. Applications and systems, they need to talk to each other, and that's when I realized the potential of integration and moved into the world of APIs and microservices. And yeah, that's how here I am working as a principal developer. And in my current capacity, I'm also acting as the product owner role for the integration squad here in revenue. Yeah, so throughout my journey, I would say, I've been enjoying my exposure that I've been received with tech industry. And there has been a lot of learnings and, upskilling throughout my way up here. And as you all know, technology is also, something that keeps changing, or, keeps evolving at a very fast pace. And, to keep up to that pace is something, it can be, felt daunting at times, but then if you have that passion towards learning new things and other new technologies, then definitely technology can be a good career.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? It's amazing how fast it goes, and how that you've got to love continuous improvement. You've got to love continuously improving on yourself.
Continuous improvement.
Isn't it? Do you get a lot of like sometimes I've had jobs where I go to work and I have to be producing the work, right? And I don't actually have the time during my working day to learn. I've had some employers that value learning and value that aspect of the job and actually provide me those opportunities on the job, rather than this kind of unsaid, unspoken, you've just got to train up in your own time, which I actually think shouldn't be how it is. What is that like for working at working in your departments? Do you get a lot of that learning time on the job?
Oh, definitely. I mean, when you actually join an organization, you actually do not match 100% skills what they are expecting. It's maybe, for example, I'm hiring someone for a Java developer role. Definitely Java would be a mandatory skill, but then, there are a lot of other things that you learn as you go, as you do the project work. And I would say, we in DCS provide a great learning platform. There are a lot of learning opportunities, such as they provide Udemy licenses free for people who are passionate about learning new technologies, and it's always learning on the go, right? And you cannot come to a project learning 100%, and with the right guidance and the people right mentoring and surrounding yourself with the right people, that really helps you in your way forward.
Thank you, Nimmy. That was excellent. Neha, I have a question for you. So you're at the talent side of things. Neha's talent acquisition, and so Neha, you're probably seeing talent constantly come through your door. Am I right? How important when it comes to the tech professions? Like, how much value do you put on formal qualifications? Whether it's someone that's coming new to the field or whether it's a career changer, is that still very important, like that formal qualification?
See, not so much now, more than the qualification, it's the skill set that they have. So, Rachel might not have she's not from a computer science background, but she had that learning mindset, and she had this, she went out and got those skills which are really needed to perform the job. So I guess that's most important. Instead of the formal qualification, we look at the learning mindset, the attitude of the person, and whether or not they have that skill set to do the job. Like, as Nimmy mentioned, that if you're looking for a Java developer, you would expect them to have some knowledge of Java. But then again, even if they know, let's say, even if they know the 50 to 60% of that skill, we can train them, and they have that learning mindset, we can definitely, provide them the right set of training and the growth within the organization.
Yeah, we see the same thing with our internship. Often the interns who succeed and get permanent roles, I mean, obviously it's not all the time on them. Sometimes the company might not be able to provide the permanent role, but a lot of the time that transition happens because of the passion. It's that passion to learn, and no matter what it is, it's sort of like being open to that. The attitude, that was really clear. Neha, what would you say, like, if you're looking at portfolios or resumes, is there anything that comes to mind that you sort of look for or would make someone stand out? Is there any sort of high level tips that you could give when it comes to resume and CVs and portfolios?
So I guess the three things that would be, which are like, when you're writing down your resume or when you're like applying for a job, the key three things would be mentioning your skill set clearly, like, what skills you have and how they align best to the job, and what sort of projects that you have worked on. So clearly mentioning that, you've done this project and what was your role in the project, not what the team did, but what was your role. So what did you do? What did you deliver in the project? And the third thing would be, what were your achievements? So highlighting a few key achievements kind of makes you stand out in terms of, yeah.
Yeah, nice. And do you have any advice for anyone who doesn't have the work experience yet? You had that area where it was like project work, and what part did you play? What about someone that's really fresh and coming at this? What do you like to see?
See, we all started as fresh talent sometime or the other, maybe like no one comes into the market with work experience. We all started as fresh talent sometime or the other. So whatever you have done, like you would have done some internships, some graduate projects, some college projects, you need to mention those, highlight that, because if you are coming as a fresh talent, obviously the roles you would be applying for are junior roles. You would not be applying for senior roles. So we don't expect that level of experience when you are applying for a junior role, but mention whatever you have done, even if you've done a college project or an internship that really brings out what you have done, and what exactly did you learn out of that internship, or what was your learning out of those projects.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice. I love it.
Yeah.
We talked. Oh, sorry. Someone going to. Sorry.
Yeah, I do want to mention one thing in there is as in the engineering manager position and in the acting role at the moment, we have to do a lot of recruitment for, for our teams. And the one key thing that we look for from my experience is the transferable skills. Then doesn't have to be like a one-to-one match, but if you can, in your resume, in your CV, you can actually showcase that you have got those transferable skills, whether it is logical thinking, whether it is a certain language that you have learned in some time. That's the key skill that we look for from those resumes.
Oh, that's a good nugget. Thanks, Arshdeep. I do have a question from the crowd, actually. I feel like I don't want to just leave questions from the crowd to the last, because I think they kind of weave in nicely to this conversation. And this is for anyone that feels they can answer this, but within the industry, is it appropriate to write on my resume my Aussie nickname instead of my legal first name? That's an interesting one. Does anyone have any? Neha, you're having a think.
I would say from a DCS perspective, if you want if you're more comfortable using your Aussie nickname, go for it. We are a very diverse organization, and we value people from different backgrounds, because I think when you bring in people from diverse backgrounds, it brings in different thought processes, different thinkings, and you approach problems differently and you get the best solution. But if you are, if you're more comfortable using your legal nickname or your ethnic nickname, go for it. Or your ethnic name, go for it. We are all for it. So that's pretty much, that's what I believe in, that as an organization, whatever you are comfortable with, we want you to bring yourself to work. So yeah.
Love that. Thank you, Neha. We talked a little bit about job ads mentioning sort of desirable skills, must-have skills. And we kind of talked a little bit about how, just applying when you don't have the 100% criteria. Arshdeep, have you ever done that? Have you ever applied for something where you've not met the 100% criteria? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be all the jobs that I have worked in so far. I've never met actually 100% of the criteria, never, ever. I think it'll be really hard to find people who would actually match with 100%, because tech skills is one. There are other skills also that are required sometimes as part of your role, your leadership skills, your, strategic thinking or critical thinking sort of skill set. And, and there is such a variety of products and platforms that people use. It's very hard to say you worked on these 10 techs and tools that it's going to match with the next job that you want to really go for. So I think the one key thing that I always look for is that again, as I mentioned to my previous point, is it a transferable skill? For example, if I worked on a logging platform on one tool in an X company and I'm looking for another one, and they use a different tool, really the basics would be same. The tooling could be really different. So you never have to have like those matching 100% requirements. But yes, you can definitely showcase that you have those skills which actually will help you get that job. So yeah, in my case, it was 100% of the time wherever I've applied.
100% never hit 100%.
That it was never 100%.
That's so good and so right, because I was similar. Like my language I'd learned when I was studying was Java, but I ended up getting a job as a .NET C# developer because it was really that was just I know it's kind of language for language, but there are a lot of languages that have similar concepts and similar syntax, and the learning curve is so small to go from one language to the other that you shouldn't discount it. If you like the company, you like their values, you like their team, but your language might be not right, go for it anyway and chat to them about what that transition might look like. Rachel, you're next. Rachel, how important has representation been for you throughout your journey so far? Like when you first moved into tech, did you, were you seeing anyone that looked like you? Did you have mentors like you, role models to look up to?
Yeah, we might go a bit further back. So when I was actually choosing my uni degree, I think I ended up choosing 2 industries that were predominantly female. I don't even know if that was a conscious choice, really. So I was in psychology, which is mental health, and HR, again, predominantly female. But I think when I reflected a bit more, I guess I chose those areas because I could see myself doing that type of work, and I could see myself doing that type of work because it was predominantly female. And I was seeing women excel in those areas. I guess I didn't even really consider computer science back then. And I think computer science has actually gotten a little bit of a rebranding in the most recent years, and we can see it's a lot more attractive. A lot of people want to do it. And we are seeing more female leaders emerge in the space. And I think that's been a big part of the reason why I was able to make that shift, because yeah, eventually I could see myself becoming like ARSHDEEP or NIMMY, like a manager in the tech space. So yeah, and I think joining Knology and the bootcamp really helped that even more, just because I was surrounded by a network of people that were diverse, including women, and it helped me see the potential as well.
Yeah, I love that. Can I ask you just a little bit about what that learning experience was like? Were you fully learning full time? Were you working at DCS at this? Like, what does that look like on a day-to-day?
Yeah, so I was learning full time for 3 months at Knology. That was part of the reason I chose Knology, was because I really wanted to be fully immersed in the whole process. So I chose a full-time boot camp. And then as part of their offering, they help you place into a role, into a company as well. And I was really lucky to be chosen to be placed into revenue, just because they're really supportive with bringing in new talent. And I actually had a bunch of other people in the same boot camp join at the same time. So it's been such a great experience.
It's so good. And that's really, you know, there's something to that, Rachel, because we're very similar. The way that we sort of run our learning programs are cohort experiences for that same reason. It's like peer motivation is a big thing, isn't it? It's like when you make friends and you can share your struggles or share your wins and successes, but you can just have those relationships like during that experience. Like it's empowering. It really helps motivate you and keep you going. You can definitely, you know, check out Knology, but I'm also going to do a little shout out to our own courses, which I'll check if someone wants to pop a wee link in. If you're sort of starting in tech and you want to learn about coding, and as such, we've got a few wee courses that we run. We don't run them full time though. So if you are looking for a sort of full-time boot camp, someone actually has a question about boot camps, which I'll mention in a minute. But yes, have a wee look. You can either do full-time. The ones that we do are just part-time flexible. So if that's more in line with your lifestyle, check them out. Someone had a question about, do we see more women in boot camps? I think that's an interesting question, and I don't know if we're the right people to answer. Rachel, what was the representation like in your cohort?
It was really diverse. I would almost say like 50% of us were women.
That's it.
So yeah, I don't know if we
It was
saw
not
more
my
women.
experience in computer science.
Yeah, definitely. I think Knology has a great pathway, because they actually are looking for people from diverse backgrounds, not only like ethnically and gender, but also just their experience in careers as well.
That's it.
So it's been good.
And if you're on this call and you are looking for an internship, definitely check out our internships as well. They're on pause at the moment, but we're getting them back up soon. So definitely check that out. Lakshmi, I've got another question for yourself. Was it the same boot camp that you did?
No, so I was lucky to be part of the Service NSW. So Service NSW, they conducted a boot camp for 3 months, and I was part of that.
Oh, cool. Tell me a little bit about that.
So yeah, so as I mentioned, I was in my maternity leave and really wanted to do something else. And
this before baby or after baby?
It's after baby, yeah.
Oh, you are my idol. Who can manage that and a baby?
Yeah, it was a bit hard to start with, but the best part about it is like we've been paid for doing that boot camp for 3 months. Incredible. So, and it was very specific. It was about web development. They taught us a little bit about JavaScript, Node.js, and a little bit on React.js as well. And that was 3 months. And soon after that, they put us into the real environment. We worked with different teams for about, as a trainee engineer. And then we worked for about 6 months or so. And whenever you feel comfortable, you can just apply for the next level, which is a junior engineer role. That's yeah. So And I totally agree with your point saying that, to be with the boot campers and sharing your experiences, because there were times when, I could not have the work-life balance. There was a lot of burnouts, and you sometimes feel that, is it the right time to, really change your career? But I think staying focused and discussing your situation with your manager and with your colleagues, with the people who are undergoing the same bootcamp course is really good, help you a lot. Yeah, and that's it.
It sounds so similar. We just did a program actually. I'm like thinking, was it the same program? It was not the same program, but we just did a program recently, actually, very similar, where we were working with another department, but it was that similar curriculum that you just mentioned. It was Node, React, and these are again like really good. I think they're just really good industry up-to-date languages to learn at this stage. Like if you're completely fresh into tech and you're wanting to sort of learn good languages that are, again, transferable, but also used a lot in the industry. These are brilliant sort of front end languages, React, back end languages, Node. So for anyone on the call that loves those little insights. So I've got a few questions coming through. So I'm just going to double check that. Yeah, this is a good question from Isabel. So Isabel wants to know, can we talk about what DCS used to help employees adapt to new technology in the workplace? So I think this is maybe coming back to that kind of learning opportunities. Anyone like to speak?
Yeah, I can speak to it a little bit. I'm not sure if this is DCS wide, but definitely in my team, we have like a 3-hour learning window every Friday, and access to Udemy. I think just because of the nature of technology and how it is constantly changing and improving, even if you're not currently working on the latest and greatest tech, they want you to be able to keep learning those new skills. So they've been really supportive in letting you adapt, learn the skills, and then like when it becomes relevant in the work, to be able to already say that you have some experience in it and you've got some hands-on knowledge.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Rachel. And Arshdeep, did you want to mention anything else?
Yeah, I think it's a similar setup in Service in South Wales as well, that each team has set up a dedicated time for their, people to kind of learn the skills. And also at the same time, I do want to mention that we encourage a lot of pair programming in our workplace, so that, that's a good chance for the juniors to learn from their seniors working together on the same task. There's a lot of time, some people are really good at self-study, whereas others might need some more direction from someone senior. So that's really a great way to learn things at job and in work, and get this chance to ask those real questions from your mentors and from your seniors within the team who can support you. And similarly, we do have that Udemy subscription for all our employees who can actually go define their learning paths. We also try to use those Udemy learning for the goal settings as well, that working with the juniors, like when I was a principal engineer, would work with my engineers to say, okay, for the next 3 months, what their learning goal would be, and so that how can I help, and others can help them achieve that goal. So those conversations need to really happen very often, to kind of develop those skill sets from within your junior staff. And I think that's one of the key role that we have we expect from our seniors and from our principals or EMs, to be able to help facilitate those sessions or those opportunities where we can give that learning or provide that support to our junior staff.
So it's such important, isn't it? It is very important.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I also love
I
that.
would like to add one more thing to this. So, even we in DCS, we have people who join our team along with their graduate programs. So, along with their learning in universities, DCS provides that full flexibility and support to them, so that they can grow academically. They can at the same time they can also grow in their professional career. So even in my team, we had graduates joining our team, and then I've all seen them coming out with flying colors, and we have seen them sharing their experiences of how they were able to manage both work and at the same time their academics. So in that way, I think revenue or even the CS is providing full support in helping them shape their career in many ways.
That's excellent. Thank you, Nimmy. Lakshmi, we've had a few people ask in the chat window about the specific bootcamp that you did.
Yeah, so
I think ARSHDEEP's just answered it.
oh, good. Thanks, Ash. So yeah, it is something conducted by Service New South Wales. So if you are employee of Service New South Wales, they have an internal bootcamp recruitment.
Beautiful.
And also it's very important to also mention, as I think Nimmy mentioned, or someone mentioned, that diversity is really important, which doesn't really only limit to people from different backgrounds, but also the kind of experience they can bring in for those experiences. And most of the work that we do at Service really impacts our community. So I think this is a really great program where we are giving that opportunity to our service staff who's working in the front line, who actually interact with the customers daily and understand the problems and issues that they face. And that knowledge and experience, when brought back to the digital team, actually help us build those products where we can actually think from those perspectives and apply those into our solutions that we are trying to, or into our problems, the solutions that we are trying to build for our customers. So so this is really a great program, and it is actually custom made and partnered with TAFE New South Wales, where we have selectively chosen the tech stack that we actually work on so that we can set these people for success, so that after the 3 months of course, they can go back, they get integrated with the teams, where they actually get to work with the team to build real-time products for the next 9 months. And then after that 1-year journey, they can choose to kind of progress in the organization and, to take the path that they always wanted to.
I love that, ARSHDEEP, and it's so true what you say, and especially I think with government, like the products that we're building, the people that are building them, they impact the society using them. And I think with government, what you do is such an important aspect, the technology solutions that you're creating, having that diversity on all levels like that is such an important thing. And how we achieve that is through innovative solutions like that. And we've saw that as well. Like, again, we work with a lot of organizations in a similar capacity of what you're saying, albeit just focused on women transitioning their career. But, I think that I always really applaud organizations that take that internal approach to this problem when they say that, the future is very tech heavy. We know that we're going in that direction. We've been going in that direction for a long time, but we often see a disproportionate number of women who are left behind, who have missed opportunities to get coding at school, who are put off by the male-dominated aspect of learning technology. And so often what we see is actually women are twice as likely after the age of 25 to consider a career in tech, which speaks volumes. I think that says, like, obviously they've been like Rachel, realizing that maybe there's something here and I should be in tech. And to provide an opportunity like that for Lakshmi, for Rachel, to be able to transition, to uplift their digital capabilities, the future that they'll have now, the opportunity, the growth, the financial security, it's an incredible thing to do for your people. And I think more employers and more organizations need to take that approach to diversifying the workforce. It's not going to come from the traditional routes. We've seen that. So it's how can we get innovative and make it happen, and with the people that we want to take with us. So I just think that's amazing. Sorry, soapbox, off of it now. I have a question for you all. Some people often think tech jobs are boring and dull and not very creative. What do you say to that? Nimmy, do you want to share?
Yep, sure. I think that's just a myth, and tech jobs can be as creative as any other jobs. I mean, I think in technology per se, it's not just purely you are doing something technical. There can be other non-technical jobs as well, where you have to put in a lot of imagination and creativity, and one thing that I can think of is probably a UX designer or a web developer. a lot of imagination and creativity has to be put into, when you are actually creating an interface, which is actually exposed to a lot of people from various backgrounds, right? And at the same time, in technology, there is also this software development. And I think people always have this notion that software development is all about writing lines of code, but that may not be always the case. It's actually a journey, and that journey starts from, you're gathering requirements, you collaborate with a lot of people, you use your people management skills also there. And at the same time, you move on to the design phase. So there is a lot of creativity in a different way. For example, you have to apply your problem solving skills or analytical skills, and you are designing that application or designing that product, which is actually, keeping in mind the users that are going to use these products. So there is a lot of creativity and imagination involved in software designing as well. And yeah, I think it's just as rewarding and as any other domain. That's what I would say. And I would like to see more and more women coming into the world of technology and see the benefits of it. Yeah.
That's it, Nimmy. Does anyone else have anything to add? I also feel all of those things. I think for me, I was a back-end engineer, and even just write the writing of code, I just loved. Like, I loved the way we organize it and name it, and like, I think that there's creativity even in that low level of coding. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to that?
I totally agree with you both. I think it for a developer, it is giving you an opportunity to innovatively think about that solution, and you can also see at the same time how customer is utilizing it. So you get a good satisfaction. So yeah, it's very creative.
It's very addictive. When you said satisfaction, I'm like, oh my goodness, the amount of times I've pulled myself away from the computer and I'm like, you've got to stop. You've got to stop coding, Ali. Neha, I'd love to come back to you around just the sort of general perks and benefits and what makes it quite unique to be a government employee in the tech space. Obviously we've got different departments represented here, but is there some key things that you'd like to share just about, yes, maybe people wouldn't be aware, like, is it flexible? Yeah, if you could share some like high level great things about working at DCS.
I think it's the growth and development opportunities we offer. So if you, as ARSHDEEP and NIMMY mentioned their journey within the department, they started out as, engineers, and then they became principal engineers, and now they're people managers. So we offer that growth and development opportunities to people all the time. So that's one of the key things. And the other thing would be flexibility. So, we understand people have commitments outside of work. It's just not children, you could be pursuing a hobby, you could be studying, and you might want times, you might want to work around those times. So we offer that kind of flexibility and adaptability to people so that you can manage both your personal goals and your professional goals. So I guess these are the two things that people should know when they're coming into a government sector, that, people come with that mindset that, we're still stuck in dark ages and everything. No, we're quite agile, we're quite nimble, and we are a fun place to work.
I love it. And does anyone else, is anyone here on a sort of flexible time scale? Are you juggling life in the background? Like I'm part-time, I've got a little boy at home who's not with me right now. Is anyone else on that same boat, and how's that working?
I still do 4 days a week. So, I work 4 days a week, and it's working pretty fine. All my stakeholders know that I'm not available on that particular day, but
what's your day off, Nia? What's the off day?
Monday.
We're Wednesday. I've heard someone else do Friday, and I thought, that's probably a better idea.
Yeah, so I've come across a lot of people, and I've hired a lot of candidates who've said that, we would want to do this, or we would want to start early and finish early because of whatever commitments they have. And the hiring managers have always been, or the organization has always been supportive of that. I've never come across a case where people have said, we can't work with this. People have always been very supportive of that flexibility and adaptability, or, working with people's schedules and all.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Service New South Wales is also really working in this format at the moment. We are trialing the compressed hours wherein, people are, can compress their 5 days a week to 4 days a week and have that additional time to do what they want to do outside work, as NIMMY said, and NEHA said, sorry. I think flexibility is great. And I think more than that, every person could be different, but I think the kind of work that we do and the impact it has on our next door neighbor, or and that we can see that exact, direct impact on people around us that sense of achievement is really key as well, to work in the government organization, to see that, you are actually doing something that actually affects and has that impact on people around you. So I used to feel really proud when someone actually comes and tells, oh, we were using this app, or we were using the border permit, or during COVID times, or even after, like we've done so much work on the disaster side when the floods hit and all of those. So when we see people actually getting benefit from the work that we are doing, that actually that sense of satisfaction is way more than many other things that corporate world provides.
That's
just adding to what ARSHDEEP said, the work that we do at DCS impacts the life of 800 million citizens of NSW. So you can very well imagine the scale of, the scale of work or the impact that is has.
No pressure. No pressure at all. 800 million, did you say?
8 million, whatever.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So this is probably a little call out to everybody. We have 10 more minutes. So if you've got a burning question, don't be shy. Share them in the chat. There's no such thing as a dumb question.
So there is a question about working from home and remotely.
Yes. Brilliant. So is it common to work remotely from home?
No, it's actually a hybrid working environment. Yeah. So, and it also depends on the team that you're working with. And it's actually, based on an agreement that you have with your manager. You decide on a landing day as to when you want to, come to office and meet the team. And then, it's based on your agreement with your manager, but it's a hybrid working environment at the moment.
Yeah, I would, second that. It's really dependent on the needs of your team and, how everyone's placed. We have people who have, been part of service from, from outside, from outside the city, which are further around, like Newcastle or Bathurst, who are still like it's hard for them to actually commute every day or, every now and often. So we do have that flexibility. Again, it really depends on the structure of the team, the needs of the team, and the requirement of how much, you would be required. And it is absolutely hybrid. It is what works for both the organization as well as the people.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. So we have a few more questions coming in. I just want to check, Monica, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Would you like to ask a question? Is that why your hand's up? Do you want me to unmute you? Yes. Okay, I'm unmuting Monica, who I believe has a question. So Monica, there might be a little pop-up on your window allowing you to unmute. There we go.
Yeah. Firstly, I would like to really thank everyone for sharing their stories. I can relate to each person, I guess. I have been a customer service and I went to recent one was like a Generation Australia bootcamp. So this has been a very interesting session, even in regards to the resume and cover letter too, because there are quite a few roles, like when I'm trying to apply, even though the responsibilities are matching 100%, the resume is getting rejected at the first stage itself. So any tips or suggestions, like how can I improvise on myself so that I can be a good developer? Because I have already built 3 websites, even using the cloud. I have used quite a few languages too. Yeah.
And so Monica, are you early on at your journey? Have you yet
Yes.
your first job? Is that where you're at?
Yes, I have been graduated from Bachelor's of Computer Science Engineering from India, and I had a career gap. So now I have been working like a customer service too agent before, but I always had love and passion towards IT, like developing side and also both the front end and the back end.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Beautiful. Does anyone want to talk to that point? I've got one thing I would say is intern?
Are you trying for a first job in Australia by any chance?
She's muted again.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I have done lots of jobs other than a developer side of roles, like admin job, customer service, and also quite a few part-time jobs, but never a proper IT job. So
yeah, one recommendation that I can give you is that, whenever you apply for a role, there will probably be a hiring contact in there to always ask for a feedback on what expectations are mentioned over there, because it's always sometimes the interpretation of those roles and responsibilities mentioned on the job posts are slightly different. So in terms of experience, if they are actually looking for someone who's more experienced, or I would encourage, if you think that that's what is happening, so try to reach out the person who's mentioned in the contact to kind of get that feedback as to what didn't work for when, if that has happened in your case.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Monica. That was beautiful. We have a few more questions that have came in. So and also Monica, when our internship opens again in August, definitely get an application in.
Sure.
You would be perfect candidate.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So I'm just going to check the chat. Well, we've got 5 more minutes. I've just finished my boot camp 2 weeks ago. Oh, congratulations. And wondering if part-time hours can be an option, even for a junior software engineer / interns due to childcare. That's a brilliant question. Do part-time roles exist for juniors?
As far as I know of, there's no part-time opportunities, but there are flexibility. Yeah, like Ash said, that you can have compressed hour option. You can work from home for for in some circumstances. So I also have a child going to childcare. So I sometimes keep him home and work from home. So that's an option.
Yeah, same likewise. I think there's flexibility in how you can manage your day-to-day, but in terms of the job post, I think it will also be mentioned at the part of the job. If it is a part-time job, there it will be clearly mentioned. But most time we have seen that it's in the job post, it should be clearly mentioned it's a permanent, full-time, or a contracting role, so those things you can find it on the job post.
And what I have understood is that, part-time options are there, and at the same time, job sharing option is also there, which means, you can pair with someone and share the same job. So that option is also part of DCS policies.
Beautiful. Thank you, NIMMY. This question's around Australian citizenship and permanent residency. So really it's that, how do you overcome more and more companies wanting Australian citizens or permanent residents only in job description, while applicants like me who hold a student visa or a full working rights visa, should we ignore that requirement and submit the application still? Or if doing so, will we be blacklisted? Probably not blacklisted,
No.
I'm going to guess.
No, I don't think so. You'll be blacklisted. I think it'll be good to kind of still submit the application if you think. But if it is clearly mentioned, that's a different thing. But I think all we really worry about is that if you have the correct work right, arrangement in the country. So that's the only thing that matters. As long as you can actually explain that, yes, you have the work right. I don't think so that we are rejecting resumes based on that. I haven't done personally any of that.
So just adding to that, if a citizen or a permanent resident requirement is mentioned, probably the nature of the job is such, like if you're working for, if you're working for a federal government, that's the nature of the job. That's why that requirement exists. But for our roles, we as ARSHDEEP mentioned, we are only looking for people with valid working rights, because that's a legal requirement. We can't have you working for us illegally. That we don't want to get into trouble. So that's what it is. So as the department, we're looking for, unless and until it is specifically mentioned for some specific roles where we're looking for citizens or PRs, we're okay with people who have proper working, valid working rights within Australia.
Beautiful. Thank you, Neha. That's really clear.
Yeah.
One last question to finish us off. We've got someone wanting to know, does one need to have a certification or have done a boot camp to be considered more qualified than someone who's self-taught? So if someone's self-taught, they've never done any formal qualification or informal alternative education, they've coming to you, they've got a diverse portfolio of code, would you value them less?
No, I don't think so. I
No,
think if there
I
is
don't
a
think so.
really proof of, that the work that you have done, there are people who actually don't even mention about the workplaces. They can simply put on their projects or their GitHub repository or their, piece of work that they have done as part of their profile or their resume. I think that's actually much more valuable than actually hiring someone who might have worked on in a big organization or, probably ticking all those education ticks, but might not be, be a good developer. But if you were as a self-taught and you have kind of done all of that work, and you can actually again showcase that in your CV or, in your cover letter, I think that's you will not be, treated any less. So it's an open, equal opportunity. Go for it.
I think my mantra for hiring, and at least with people who are new to the technical domain, would be hire for attitude and then train for skills. So I think skills, it can be trained. It's not something that anyone can come on board with 100% of the skills, and it can be trained on the job.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Nimmy. Is very inspiring. Rachel's going to say something. You're going to say something else so inspiring.
I was just gonna give my 2 cents on that. I almost think that the skills you have to be able to be a self-taught developer is potentially more impressive, because you have those soft skills of like discipline and diligence. And at the end of the day, the hiring manager is looking for whether the skills you have meets the expectation of the role. This is my HR side coming out again. So as long as you can showcase that through your portfolio, then yeah, I can't see why you'd be treated any differently.
I love that. And that's what I love about technology. And I love this about this industry that we work in, is it's so empowering to all individuals. And there's many pathways. And if anything, the more diverse pathways, the more diverse people will get into them. So it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Rachel, Lakshmi, Neha, Nimmy, and Arshdeep. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thanks for your time and your generosity of knowledge. I hope everyone's enjoyed themselves. Now we can head off and get our lunch now, but you can watch this recording back or share it with your team, even better when it's live on YouTube. So thanks, everybody. We've been Code Like a Girl, and I'll see you at the next event. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
For having
everyone.
me here.
Good luck,
Thank you.
everyone.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.